Happy Saturday, Geoff.
Oh, crap. Happy Saturday.
How was your 50 miles today?
Happy
Saturday, Geoff.
God dog it.
Crap. Happy
Hold on one
Saturday.
second. This thing is...
50 miles today.
I'm
I'm hearing
trying-
myself coming.
Yeah, because I can't figure out which one's live. It wasn't allowing me to... Oh, my gosh. Why does this have to be so complicated?
That's
All
a
right.
great song, by the way.
Which one?
Complicated. Why does this have to be so complicated?
Oh, Avril Lavigne?
Yes.
Man, we're going all the way back on okay, so...
This is pre-first deployment, because I used to listen to her working out in the gym in Saddam's palace.
Yeah. I should have... Since we're going old school like that, I should have went live. I should have just went live the second that I got in the studio.
I'm telling you.
Because you were singing and all that other stuff, that would have been good for the viewer.
Geoff, you added me.
That would have been. That'd have been good for the viewers, though.
Well, you want to talk about? We get slapped with some copyright stuff there because I don't think Meredith Brooks has given us permission. But I'll tell you, that song just makes me feel like queen of the universe. And my kids know the lyrics. I swear I play it. Like Michael and I listen to the news podcast every morning on the way to school. But when it's done, it filters right into whatever music I've got. And sometimes it's, Dick Haymes and the old crooners, that the vocal jazz. So like him, Dean Martin, Ella Fitzgerald, like those kinds of people. And then sometimes it's off my Brave playlist. And that song, Bitch, is one of my favorite songs. Yeah. I love that song. It is saucy. I love that song. So anyway, that's the song that Geoff caught me singing when I was sitting here screwing around on my phone, waiting for Geoff to come in after his 50-mile ride. And I was sitting there singing.
It's like 53 to be exact, roughly. And I know I was a little bit late. But I'm super excited to talk about, probably can't see it, but this shirt, my 1 Mile Leadership Project shirt, and hat. This is some of the gear that the crew sent me. I told you about, I had some big things happening and stuff like that.
You did. You hinted, but you didn't get specific last week because you couldn't at the time.
Yeah. Oh, I wasn't sure. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't official. My name wasn't on the, now my name, my picture, my bio and all that stuff is on the website. So, and then I ran it by the guy that had, that offered me the opportunity to come out there with them. I asked him permission first, but if I could talk about it and stuff like that. And I was like, man, it's been kind of eating at me because I'm so proud of the opportunity to be, surrounded with world-class athletes, Olympians, world record holders and stuff
Fantastic.
like that. And when you get to have that kind of opportunity coming from where I came from, it's like, when I was a kid, I wanted to be a baseball player. And then throughout school, I wanted to also, I got really good at track and stuff like that. And that was another thing that I also wanted to do. So if I had not gotten injured and the things that happened to me didn't happen, and I would have, because I have this insane work ethic with consistency. I don't care what it's going to take. I'm going to do whatever, so I would have went pro or whatever would have happened. But I never would have had the opportunity to be badass like I am now and do the things that I do now, because the things that I do now, I think, are a lot more inspiring than just being a pro ball player, which is nothing wrong with it. I just wouldn't have the opportunity to connect with people. And I don't know where my mentality would be if that was the opportunity. Because some things, when things happen in life that you want, sometimes it's a blessing that they don't happen, right?
The unanswered prayers.
Okay, You didn't get to go pro and make millions of dollars. That doesn't mean that you're not going to make millions of dollars. It just means that this was not the right path for you. And for a long time, that was something that I couldn't understand. I was resentful towards. And now I'm grateful because I was cycling on the way in today and I was like, man, if I had become a pro ball player, I would not be doing what I'm doing right now. Probably wouldn't have a podcast and I wouldn't be doing the stuff that I'm doing either.
Geoff, are you suggesting that life is filled with twists and turns and left hands and right hands and straight paths and backward paths? Are you suggesting that life is kind of directional sometimes, like a compass?
I would strongly agree with that. I
So
would
we've been
strongly agree.
teasing it. We've been teasing it for a few weeks now and kind of mentioning certain things. I think that for me, this is one of my favorite journals that I've written for our pod. I think it is for you too. I think it's one of our more meaningful ones.
It is. I'm the shit show that showed up late today, so I didn't get to prepare for this one like
Okay,
talking about. So I'm
well,
gonna just kind of
so
flow off
your
of
turn
this,
this
but
week. And look, this week you were only a few minutes. Last week I had to blow us for like a while because we had family over, so but that's just how it goes sometimes. So
that's
you're okay.
life. We
Well,
make it. We make things happen. Like
we
I tell you,
do,
I'm
and we shift and we adapt and we adjust. So today we're talking about compass, which is a really weird word about which to reflect until you actually start thinking about it and letting your mind kind of spin. So, Geoff, this journal, I think we finalized the word on the evening of September 16th, and I wrote my journal in the early morning of September 17th. And I remember the sequence of this day probably more than any of the other journals that I wrote, because this was for me, this was a path changer day for me, writing this
like
journal.
with writing this, like as far as like
So
solidifying the journey
so
that
so let me yeah, okay. So okay. First of all, hello Mama T, I see you over there. Good evening. So okay. When I think about compass, I think about land nav, right? I think about our Landsat compass. I think about getting that thing and checking it, make sure that that's all good. I remember being on the course, getting my 6 or 7 or 8 point, however many points it was, and running the
yeah.
course. You give me a compass and a map and let me verify the things I need to verify with pace count and blah, blah for the terrain. And I'm going to make it out and I'm going to run. So, but if you leave me blind, then I struggle.
Uh,
So when I started undergrad, I didn't really know what I was going to do. I didn't really know what my career was going to be. In high school, I thought I was going to be a lawyer, but I didn't have any convictions when I started college on what I wanted to do. And then I joined ROTC, and then I enlisted, and then I joined ROTC. So it's kind of like, okay, well, this is good. I'm going to go active duty. And then I changed my course again and decided to take a reserve commission because they were going to assess me as military police, active duty. And I'm like, I don't want military police. I want engineers. And they're like, fine, but you have to go reserve. And I'm like, that's fine. I don't want to be an MP. That's not my thing. Then I had to find a job after I graduated. I'm like, well, how the heck do I do this? So I applied to a whole bunch of think tanks in DC because I had an international relations and history degree, and I either minored or I had concentrations. I don't remember if they're official or not, in development economics and in politics, like comparative politics. So I went and I worked in DC. I had an unpaid internship. I had to cocktail waitress and work at the museum store to pay my rent, which for a 400 square foot apartment was $700 a month and $90 a month for parking.
hey, wait, how much was your rent?
Was $700 a month.
Bro, I'd like really would like the opportunity to pay that right now.
Yeah, well, it was a 400 square foot studio apartment in the middle of Northeast Washington, D.C. that my friends from college helped me find.
People are paying $500,000 for tiny homes right now.
Oh,
What are
I
you
know.
talking
My
about?
nephew, my nephew shares a house with one of his good friends from college, and they're in DuPont Circle, and they pay a lot. But I mean, they're both extremely well employed professionals, so no big deal. But I mean, I was literally waiting tables at the bar across the street and working at the museum store. Remember those rain sticks that people would set out there, like at the museum store or the Earth store, whatever the heck that store was called, and they would tip these rain sticks, and like little beans would fall down inside the stick, and it would sound like rain, and then you tip it back the other way. I worked at one of the.
Oh,
Remember?
it's like a metal bead, like metal
Something,
beads or
yeah,
something like
something
that,
like
right?
that. Yeah. So anyway, I worked at that kind of store selling crap that nobody wants or needs. But anyway, I did that. So, but I mean, so this is where it gets crazy. So I left DC when I just had this epistemological crisis where everything just shifted, and I'm like, I don't want to be here. Like, there's nothing good comes out of DC. So I went back home and I applied to grad school. And in the meantime, when I was waiting to hear from grad school, I went off to my officer basic course. And then you want to talk about a shift because I met somebody at my engineer officer basic course, and you want to talk about like flipping the compass on its rear end. I met the guy who would become my husband, and he literally flipped me around. I mean, my north became south, south became north. I moved across the country for this man 2 years later. So there is a compass shift there. And then I had to figure out, like, and so I went to grad school. I became a teacher. I loved it, but I left it when we had our first kid because I couldn't justify losing money by teaching and having to pay for daycare, right? Because in South Louisiana, public school teachers back then,
They
we
made a
weren't.
lot of money.
Yeah. It was cheaper to stay home and not have to pay for daycare than it would have been to work and pay for daycare and take the loss. So, so we had her, and then a year later, everything shifted again, right? Because my compass started pointing east, like far east, all the way over to the middle, all the way over to the middle. And that's where we intersect, right?
Yeah.
That's where our stories kind of intersect there. So to this point, I haven't really done a whole lot in my life until 2004 to do any directions. I went where my compass led. I wasn't really calling my own shots. I was kind of just walking along and sort of like approaching a path and just aimlessly. Like I didn't have any particular direction or
Kind of
anything
just
like that.
going with the motions, really. You know,
And
just not really.
Exactly. So it was just, I was not deliberate about my path. And then, we came home from that deployment. I had the second one. And then 2 years later, I had the third one. And I think it wasn't until 2013 that I actually made the very first concrete and deliberate decision about my own path. So I set my compass then, and I went to law school, and I was going to be a criminal lawyer, and that's what I was going to do. And I was set with my career path. I had my path forward. I was about to leave my job at district court and move up to the Court of Appeals in their criminal team, their criminal appeals team. And then the world shifted again because my husband got the offer we just could not refuse, and we moved from the deep, deep South to the mid North, to the mid South, and wound up in Charlotte. So
that's almost like Middle East.
Yeah. So,
but not that Middle East.
But not that East, yeah. So when we got there, I felt like I spun out of control for about a year. Like I was constantly, am I going to go and take the bar exam again so I can practice in North Carolina because Louisiana has no reciprocity with almost anybody. So was I going to do that? Was I going to try to get another job? Was I going to stay home? Was I going to do this? Was I going to do that? Like my friend would pick me up for meetings for a Rotary every Thursday morning. And I would she must have thought I was the biggest flake because every week I felt like it was something different because I didn't have direction. I was just spinning. I didn't know what I was going to do. So I took the bar again, but I was pretty sure I was going to fail it because I didn't have a whole lot of time to prepare. Like maybe, I don't know, a month or so because we were in JRTC for a month or so. And then I had a few weeks at home and then the bar exam. So, I tried to study a little bit there, but in that kind of environment, you're really not going to get good, hard studying done. So I reinvigorated my teaching license because I thought, well, if I'm going to fail the bar exam and have to retake it, then I'm going to do something this allergies in North Carolina, then I'm going to do something that I love to do, and I'm going to teach. So I applied for teaching jobs. I got a teaching job at East Mecklenburg High School, which I was so excited about. And then bam, the day after I got this job offer and accepted it, I got my letter in the mail saying, congratulations, you passed the bar.
Oh, shit.
So, but I'd already committed. So I'm like, well, what do I do? I can't I don't know. Some people have been like, well, just leave the job and go. But I didn't have a legal job because I didn't want to look for one without being, barred and admitted. So I did the teaching thing. And then 3 months after that, COVID hits. So we go from teaching in the classroom for 3 months to being at home from March of 2020 until February of 2021. But I loved it. I loved remote teaching because I found ways to connect with my students and to really like limit the curriculum to the most basic things. I mean, I had these kids for an hour and a half every day or an hour and a half every other day, depending on what their schedule was for the full year. So if it was every other day, it would be for the full year. So I found a way to limit my civics curriculum to the most essential things. So we spent like 3 weeks or a month specifically on the Constitution, like delving down into word by word, commas, the meaning, like the literature behind it, reading all of these things to the point where my students could understand and spout the constitutional law behind these things. I was so proud of them, but I loved it and it was great. However, being an educator in modern America sucks because it is not just about the teaching. There are so many things that they make teachers do that have more to do with checking blocks and fighting lawsuits and things like this than it does about actually teaching kids, especially in social studies. They just want to force conclusions without giving kids the opportunity to build an organic understanding of anything. So it's like, think this because this is what I tell you, rather than think this because this is what you've come to understand. So I can't do that. And plus, teachers have very little agency. They have to do what their district says. Sometimes they have to capitulate to principals and parents, and that's, I'm not much of a capitulator. I don't know if you've noticed.
First, wait, what does that mean first?
Somebody who has to give in. They're told to do something, and
so
they just have to get in. Yeah,
like
concede. I'm not.
yeah.
I'm not much of that kind of girl. Yeah.
No.
So,
Even thinking about that, what is it? Capitulator?
Yeah. Like it's a great word, but I couldn't do that. So, and you know what? I had a master's degree, I had a law degree, I was an admitted attorney, and I'm like, I can't do this. So I started applying for jobs as an attorney, and that's when I got my DA job. But they agreed to let me finish out the school year because I didn't want to just leave my kids. We only had maybe a month or so left, so they allowed me to start right after school ended, which was fantastic. But I was still spinning. Like, I loved my job. I felt like I was doing something for the community. I felt like it had meaning. I loved being a prosecutor. But I was still spinning. I still wasn't using all of me. I wasn't using my problem-solving ability because, again, even as a prosecutor, you've got policies you have to follow. You've got senior litigators who are saying, no, this is what you're going to do. Here's how you're going to do it. So there's not a whole lot of agency even in that. And, no matter how great of an ADA you are, you could be around for 20 years and you're still an ADA. Like, you're not going to be a section, you might be a section chief, but you're still an ADA. Like, there's not a whole lot of agency. There's not a lot of hierarchy. There's not a lot of ability to like move up. And I realized after teaching and being a prosecutor, I needed to have hierarchy. So around this time is when you and I really started gearing up for the podcast and coming up with our words and writing all of these things. And every day I'm sitting here thinking about my career and my path and feeling like I'm still spinning while I'm reflecting on all of these words that you and I were sharing every day. And while I'm in Huntsville doing our cyber exercise that we do every year. So all these things are going on. So I wake up in the morning of September 17th, which is the day I wrote this. I wrote the journal, sitting quietly in the hotel room, just gearing up for the day. I open my Facebook to check things that are going on. And I see this post my friend had written about a job that she was advertising for at the bank where she works. And I read the job description and I said, holy crap, this could be it. So we went into our little white cell. I talked to my husband. He said, but you love your job. I said, I love a lot about my job, but look at this. I applied for that job, and the next day I had an interview. So I wrote this journal about spinning and saying, somewhere is a meadow where my three paths unite. Somewhere, all the things that make me a great lawyer, an effective teacher, and a solid leader mesh. Somewhere I can collaborate on a new project, build something from the ground up, flex my muscles. It's coming. I can feel it. I'm not spinning as much now or as quickly. I'm reaching the right path. and 2 minutes later, I open my Facebook.
So,
So how do you like them apples?
well, I think that directly ties into the whole, I think, it's all part of like when you write down, it's like setting an intention.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like you're seeking clarity. And I think that's one of the things is like, now I think that with our writing and connection and stuff like that, I feel like, we're not only just trying to share the journey, and we're not only just like trying to share perspective or talk about perspective, what we have been through, what we go through. Um, but like we're literally processing life.
Yeah, we're going
You know
through
what
it
I'm
right
saying? Like,
now. As we do our podcast, we're lifing right now.
yeah, we're just you're like, instead of going through, not that we go through life alone, you know what I'm saying? And even though we have great spouses, significant other, or whatever, you know what I'm saying? Like, we don't, well, I don't know about you, but I don't share like just like every second of detail or whatever fragment of detail with Jasmine, right? Like, but when I process things like with the journal, and then I talk about them on here, well, she gets to see me process it. So it's still sharing it with her. It's in a different light. So she still gets to see me process things in a different way, which is cool because she gets to see me do it differently. Like, it's not like it's a secret. Like, I literally journal, and you too. You journal, and then you open yourselves up for the vulnerability to share that with other people and be transparent. And so people can also see how you are not only just like processing adversity, but being able to take that and educate yourself, as well as sharing that knowledge with people around your peers and whatever, and setting that intention, and how writing and doing, like, being consistent about certain things. Like, okay, we might be struggling to hit the time for this week, but we get it every damn weekend. You know what I'm
Yes, we
saying? We
do.
make sure that we are consistent as we put that pod out on a Saturday. We make sure we might be late. And if we're not, excuse me, if we're not going to do it, I mean, we would say something. We just haven't had to cross that bridge.
Mm-mm.
But I mean, now May 13th and 14th is going to be a different
It's okay.
situation.
We're going to reschedule. We're going to do it early.
So
Because that's also that's an army
it.
weekend for me too. So we'll hit it like Tuesday, Wednesday that week.
Yeah, that might work. I have to think about what would take place on the Wednesday, because I think I do have people coming into town. Maybe on the I'm not sure though. I don't know. I'm not 100% sure, so I can't.
We'll
I
figure it
can't say.
out.
But anyway, so yeah. So I mean, I think that was where I was like kind of wrapping that up
But
as far as.
you know, I like what you're saying, because what's going on here is that we're processing this as we go, right? Because I haven't looked at these journals since I wrote them, and I don't think
Same.
you have either. Like, we don't go back since we have written these journals. Oh, and by the way, we need to talk after this because I can't remember what our. Hang on, maybe I wrote it
other
down.
word.
I think. Hang on, I think I wrote it down. I don't think I've journaled it yet. Nope, I didn't. So I don't. Do we have the other word?
Oh my God, that's so far back in
Anyway.
messages. Because
Anyway,
we have
we'll get
sent a
to it.
lot of messages.
I know. Oh my gosh. Like, maybe we just have to pick new words and then one of these days catalog all the text messages.
Man,
Oh
what
my
was
gosh.
that word gonna be?
But what I love about this podcast is that we get to, like, people are joining us as we're going through it. Like, this is not a memoir. This is an as we're going war. Like, this is a life as we know it. And just look at the things that have happened to us. This is episode 7. So in the last 7 weeks, look at the things that have happened for you and I, the things that we visualized, the things that we've actualized, the things that have come to fruition for us, the amount of work we're putting into various things in our lives, and how it's just because we're putting intentionality into it, and because we're talking it through, because we have this following, we have people who care and are committed with us and are doing these things with us. Look at how that gives us the bucket filling that we need in order to keep getting up every day and hustling and working our see, I almost said it again for the second time, working our butts off to make these things happen. And like, for you in particular, with your sponsorships and things like that, I am so proud of you. It's just snowballing. And this is going to do that too. We're going to focus on this when we can, when it's, when it has its turn. And I just enjoy that people get to come along for the ride, and they don't have to sit here and think, oh yeah, well, she's already done. No, she's doing right now.
Yeah.
Like, right now.
Man, I
This
don't know
stuff
if you
is
know who
happening.
Inky Johnson is. I'm gonna have to
Mm-mm.
send you a podcast about this guy, and he talks about he's like, um, he's got this like mantra. It's called "empty the bucket," meaning that every day he pours like he makes sure that at the end of the day that bucket is absolutely empty. Like that bucket contains him and his work ethic. And he said every day I empty that bucket. Like I dump myself into life, right?
I say
Like
I leave it all out in the field.
yeah, same thing, same concept, right? Like man, I am sunburnt. I can feel it on my leg. I'm
You
like
better put some
half
aloe. Jazz, take
half
care of him. He didn't take care
half
of
of my
himself today.
half of my half of my leg is burnt. I know that. I could feel half of one of my because that's probably the side that the sun was coming
Gotta
down on.
take care of yourself, Geoff. You gotta make sure you've got proper sun protection. You can't do this. Not
Yeah.
good for you. Jazz looking at you.
I had long sleeves on. I just didn't have long pants on. So
You gotta take care of yourself, man. Okay, so compass. So compass has
okay.
4 points, right?
Yes.
What are your 4 points?
Oof, I wasn't prepared for that kind of question. What are my 4 points?
So you should always know if I ask a question, I already have an answer. So
I'm
what are
sure
your
you
4
do.
points?
Points meaning in what in relation to what?
Well, okay. Let me
Like
tell you my 4 points, and that might help you understand what I mean. So my
okay.
4 points are personal, professional, military, and community. Those are the 4 points around
you're talking
which
like
I guide and
core
focus my
values.
life. Yeah.
Okay. So I would say like believe, which is one of the core values. You have to believe in what you're doing. You have to believe like
Okay, so maybe not necessarily core values, but 4 aspects of your life around which you kind of center things. Core values are above that. So like belief and integrity and loyalty, all those are above that. That influences how you achieve your 4 points. But so like personal, professional, military, and community, what would be the 4 areas that you can divide your life into?
well, community would be one for
Yeah.
sure. That's a massive part of it.
Huge.
That's I was about to say selflessness. That's being able to give back, but helping others would that be one? I mean, that's kind of like selflessness,
Well,
but
community, selfless service. Yeah. Okay.
I mean, that's all kind of. I mean, so whenever I talk about community, I'm talking about like my actual communities, like my run community, my sports community, my like gym community, like all like I have all these communities that
Okay.
help educate or like what about
So health and
education?
fitness,
Health and fitness,
education,
education,
community service, outreach.
outreach for sure. Yeah.
Okay. Those are some pretty strong points, right? So I look at it like the compass as how sometimes there's a balance, right? So people talk about a work-life balance, and I think that's a bunch of horse manure because I don't think there's a work-life balance. I think there's just life.
Oh, well, I don't believe in balance too much to begin with because I think that anybody that's balanced, you live a very like that's a mediocre life. If you can't,
Well, yeah.
if you're not dumping everything into this, then you can't be great at something.
Well, and I
Because
also
if you're
feel like
great at something, then you're pouring so much of your energy and time into that. You only have 100% to give. So if you're giving 25% here, 25%, like a person, there's no real 110% unless you're
yes,
talking about something else, right?
I agree.
So you only have 100%, like logically, rationally, you only like there's only one of you and 100% of you. Like if you cut 10% off of your legs, you didn't have 110%, so you're still at 100.
Right.
So like
I agree with that.
You're giving 10% here, you're giving 10%, but
You're
to be
leaving
great,
something on the table.
you have to give like 1% to this, 1% to this, 1%, 90% to this. Work ethic.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like Kobe Bryant, Michael
shifts,
Jordan, whatever.
right? So
once you get to being great, you can do a maintenance on it and then kind of dim it down a little bit and then kind of reinvest out, right? Like you can kind of reinvest into some
And that's
other
what I'm
things.
saying. Like I think when people are talking about work life balance, they say, "Well, I'm not going to answer this phone when I'm here because this is my family time." Okay, I get that. And if that's how you organize your life, I get it and I respect it. But what I think is that sometimes something's going to get this and something's going to get this, and it's going
Something
to go
has to suffer at some point.
something exactly because
Always.
something. So you so I mean, there are sometimes I've been sitting there when my son's been doing batting practice and there's emails that are coming through and I'll sit there and I'll handle an email on the sideline. That does not mean that I'm not there on the sideline and not paying attention to the game, but if I didn't handle it then, it would be something that would snowball later. So you handle it. You
Or
handle
you
it
forget.
then. Or you forget. So you handle it then. Now there are some things that you can put off. You're like, nope, this doesn't have to get handled. I can leave this till tomorrow. You make a note and you move on.
Yeah.
But when you say, that's it, I'm done at 5, don't bother me after 5. Well, what if something comes up that has to get handled that you could handle, or what if you're at work and your kid calls from school and says, come pick me up? Well, you don't have work-life balance because then you're prioritizing your home life because your kid needs you. So at that point in time, your kid's getting more of it. There's no balance. That's just life. So I think that work-life balance is a falsity. I think it's a, oh my God, what's the word? It's a fiction that we create to make ourselves feel better when sometimes we prioritize work, or sometimes we prioritize community service, or sometimes we're going to miss a soccer game because we've already committed to go sort food cans at the community shelter. Sometimes it just happens like that, and that's life. Like you just go through it all the time. But if you keep yourself focused on your points, then you make sure that the things to which you commit are things that you care about. You learn to say no to the fluff stuff that comes and hits you, and you're like, no, that's not one of my 4 points. It's not going to get my time. And you can say no.
Well, it's like my power list, which has shifted, by the way, because I'm no longer getting into the learning center every day. I'm not doing that part of education because I have just so much other stuff going on. I just can't. I just can't invest in
You
that
can't
right
afford
now.
the time. Yeah.
So making the bed is still at the top of it. The tracking my nutrition, it's just a must as in the way that I live my life. Working out, and then well, I guess the majority of my day revolves around training, and then like I was gonna say reading, but reading has been on a standstill for right now. I just been getting in too late. Like it's just been like really late nights and stuff like that, and I just haven't been able to invest the time into it. And that's been hard because I want to like it's one of those things that I know helps ground me, that makes me feel like more mentally tough, because it's like something that I push through. Like reading is not my favorite thing to do in the world, but I do it because it makes me a better person, because
Mhm.
it's my form of education to a certain degree. It's a form of broadening my perspective. So
Yep.
like that power list um is part of the way, like, so I've had to like move maybe my, well, not maybe, but I've had to push the reading out and do like 10 minutes of visualization, or like, whatever. And now that I'm cycling, I do the visualization while I'm cycling. Like I
Sure.
have my headphones on, I'm listening to my music and stuff like that. I'm at this high vibration because I like to meditate, or, kind of meditation, praying and stuff like that. Like, I mean, it's
Mhm.
not really prayer, but it's like setting intentions, being mindful, meditating on and visualizing my dreams and my goals, and then making it happen. Because when you're exercising, it kind of like gets your body at a different vibrate. You're moving at like a different frequency. Your mind
Yes.
operates at a different frequency, and people that don't, if they don't believe that, or don't, we are all frequencies. Frequencies affect us as people. You know what I'm saying? Like
There's a book one of my coworkers just recommended, and I ordered it, and it's talking about that, and I can't remember what it was called.
vibrations, we are just a massive ball of a vibration. Like molecules, atoms, and all those things do like this really fast. Like they're
Mhm.
just constantly, and that's what we are.
And some people are more kinetic than others.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. But that's my people. Like I like the movers and the shakers and the doers and the changers and the problem solvers and the problem identifiers, and
But
those are my
even
people.
even if you or like find yourself being stagnant and like struggling and whatever, even though you feel like you are like not moving or like just lethargic or whatever, it's up to you to move. Like
But
your
that's
mind
so,
is strong enough to make yourself move. You know what I'm saying? You
but
can
Geoff, don't you,
overcome anything.
but don't you feel sometimes that sometimes it's the hardest part for people. Like they know they should get out. They know they should move.
It's
They
mental
know they should
toughness.
leave their beds, but it's that overwhelming and suffocating depression that people feel.
But if they would be moving, they wouldn't be as depressed.
Well, maybe, and then sometimes it's a chemical thing that no amount of movement's going to change it, and they might know it might make them feel better, but the actual being able to get up, like that's a struggle for a lot of people, and there's a ton of people that we know um, who struggle with this all the time. And I think the sad thing is when they don't get the help that they need,
Hormone
because
imbalance is
they
what it
don't
all.
have they don't have the people around. Well, it's not just hormones. I mean, there's all kinds of chemical, there's firing things that don't happen properly. There's things that just aren't balanced, they're not right, and things like this. And they don't have the village around them, or people who recognize what's going on with them, or people who see it, because a lot of people who are going through this, they hide it very well. They're functional, but then they go home and this is what they do. Um, so people like this are the ones that we are constantly encouraging to recognize that this is not the way that you're supposed to live, right? And when you see your friends who are struggling with this and who know the better way, but cannot force themselves to do it, these are the people that need to borrow some of your strength and your agency to get them to help, so that they can live the life that they're supposed to be living. Because that's what the bluff is. One of the things that we're all about, right? Is helping people maximize the life that they're supposed to lead.
Right.
You're not supposed to be crushed and inhibited and suffocating in your bed or in your chair, unmotivated. That's not how you're supposed to be. And when you have those signals, like I've got signals right now, my allergies are killing me, but when you've got those mental and emotional signals, that's when you need to borrow somebody else's power, so that you can make those changes and shift your compass from where it is not moving, because even spinning is better than not moving.
It's funny that we're talking about the compass thing, and my mom just posted or just said, you used to love to read. You seriously read the whole dictionary when you were young. Again, listen, check this out though. Again, do you know how long that was? 30 years ago, before trauma, before brain injuries, before Iraq, before high school,
It changes you.
like
Yeah.
like I am not that little kid anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm so far off from that little kid. That little kid was soft, frail, fragile, weak. You know what I'm saying? I am no longer that soft, weak, pitiful kid anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like as kids, we're soft. We can't really protect ourselves and stuff like that. And now I'm just a whole different being, and it's just part of life. So the things that you used to love or you used to like doesn't like that's not gonna like that changes like the seasons.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We
does.
change like the sea. Like I am no longer the person that I was 3 years ago. And that's weird also, because when I was released, I was like codependent. Like I was very dependent on Jazz when I got out. Like I was very still insecure, very not wanting to go out. I was not outgoing at all.
You were borrowing from her.
100%.
Yeah, you were taking from her what you needed.
Everything, like
and
everything was
back.
like, freaking like I didn't really need to leave the house. I didn't really need to do this. I didn't really need like I could, now I can go like Jazz has been here for 20 years and I probably know more people in this area than Jazz does. You know what I'm saying? And
that's the introvert, which is something.
But I'm an introvert.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Major introvert. Like we'll go places and then people last night, they were one of the people at the place that we were going, that we were at was like, oh, I want to introduce you to this person. I was like, man, hey, honestly, I don't like, I didn't come here for that. Like not trying to be rude. I didn't come here to really meet new people. I just came here to support you because you support me. I don't like the the
You
rest
you
of the
didn't
people
have it. You
here.
didn't have anything left to give. Yeah, I
Well,
get
the
it.
thing about it is, I have a social battery. I have an event coming up, and I know I have to protect that because when set
That's how you
22 comes
relate to
up,
people. Yeah, you're an introvert. You need to store up.
and I'm going to pour myself into that event. Not only am I going to fight physically, I'm going to empty everything I have in my heart, right? To give everything I have to that event, to give everything I have to raise, like to connect with people emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and that's how we fund that. Like in my mind, that's how I do fundraisers, right? Like I'm going to go out there and I'm going to give you everything that I have, and just like I'm preparing for this with everything that I have. Like I wake up, my days start out a little bit slow because I don't stop until sometime. Last night it was 1 o'clock in the morning and I was making sure I did my 100 100 100 so I could post the freaking reel to show people consistency is king. No,
Yes, it
it's
is.
not an elite level workout, but I will do it every damn day. And that's the bottom line. Like, you know what I'm saying? Anyway, I'm sorry. I
So
went off on a
no,
little tangent. I
no,
apologize.
I love your tangent. So two things. First of all, you read the dictionary. I've always preferred the thesaurus.
No, I probably need to read the thesaurus. The thesaurus. That's why when you say stuff, I'm like, what is that?
I love a thesaurus. I took a
Yeah.
creative writing class in high school, and I freaking loved that class because then I learned that language is fluid. I learned that grammar was fluid. And in E. E. Cummings, one of my favorite poets, was very fluid with his grammar. And when I write, my own personal style is if I'm writing something that's creative in my personal expression, grammar, punctuation, sentence structure, those things, I manipulate them to be what I need. So words for me are extremely powerful tools in that manipulation. So a thesaurus was, I mean, I still have huge. I mean, oh God, I love my thesaurus. And the other thing is, you said we talk about how we change. You're not the same person you were 3 years ago. So this is the other part of my journal.
Yeah.
I said, I'm making progress. I'm content with movement, but maybe that's to be expected. I've heard that many people change careers several times in their lives. Why? We change, priorities change, vision changes, our sense of self and power changes. What we believe we can and should do changes. That's why the needles on a compass float, so they can adjust when we need to deviate. We change. I've changed since I was a young college kid. But what keeps you centered then? What keeps you from spinning out of control? What's your true north?
Mm-hmm.
And you said it earlier, it's your values and your character, because those things don't change.
Those honestly, they really don't. Even like I can promise, I can probably say that whether I was selling drugs or doing what I'm doing now, I have the same mentality as far as like work ethic is concerned, the way that I handle people. Like, I'm not going to do you nothing unless you do me something. And that holds true to life. You know what I'm saying? Like I feel I have the same morals. Like, so yeah, I agree with you on that.
So it's, yeah. So that's where I think it's so important to reflect constantly.
Yes,
So all these people
100%.
who talk about journaling and spending time with gratitude and thinking, just thinking, like taking whatever
Um,
time it is to think, they're so spot on. You've
elaborate
got
on
to do this.
reflecting though, like how reflecting, like because it's what we do, it's processing,
Yeah. So,
right?
okay. So you and I have chosen to reflect on a word.
Exact, right?
So
Yep.
we pick a word, and sometimes it's the most random freaking word because compass is not a word that would come up in a character thing, right? But I don't, who came up
It's
with
one of
it?
my favorite things because it's a tool that we use in the military,
So
though.
yeah, was it you? Did you
I
come up with
did because
compass?
it was a word that I wrote about before. Like,
Okay.
okay, so that word was a word that when I wrote about it before, it was, again, I have another journal that I do kind of the same thing with, but it was from when I was in treatment. And that was one of my favorite words to write about. And it was on a page. I would only write to cover one page.
Hmm.
And I
Well, yeah,
wanted
and
to
some
talk
people,
about that again. And I don't limit myself on this. I'll
yeah,
try to like keep myself from going like page after page after page, because once I start, I'll hurt my hand. Like I'll
Oh,
get
yeah.
myself freaking rhabdo.
I write until I write until I'm concluded. I write until I'm done when I'm doing this kind of thing. But a lot of people, like, they want a journal, but they need to have, like, they don't have that kind of time, or they don't make, it's not, it's
Well,
sometimes
it's
you think why
about
people,
priority. It's not really
well,
time, because it
but some
happens to
people,
me,
they've
and I
never
know that.
written, right? They haven't really written. So what I really suggest is, first of all, Pinterest is the devil. I love Pinterest, but Pinterest is addictive. And if you're not on it, it's incredible the things that you can find and the community that you can form and people who really share things. So
I thought
Pinterest,
it was just pictures.
no, like my husband
Jazz
had,
gets recipes and stuff over there.
so
Or
my
something.
husband has multiple Pinterest boards. They'll be like, uh, he'll have a Pinterest board. He's got one right now for that motorcycle, that the enduro bike that he's going to
Yeah,
rebuild with
yeah.
So he's got a
Oh yeah.
Pinterest board for that. He's got a Pinterest board for garage organization. He's got a Pinterest board for, like, his, when he smokes food. So what you do is you search for these kinds of things, and then you can save it to a particular board that you can create. So your vision board,
Yeah.
this is a digital version of that. So I have boards,
Oh.
like, if I look at my Pinterest boards, I have, like, really, so some crazy ones. So some of my Pinterest boards would be like, so recipes, fashion, baking, Christmas decoration, charcuterie boards.
That word is so weird. That is just like,
I know, I love the word adventures. So, like, local adventures and adventures on wherever we're going to go. I have some on beginner crochet. Oh, reading. And I have another one on daily inspiration for my kids. That's where I save sayings and things like that. And then I pull one up, and I used to write it on the little board in the kitchen. And I have another one that's called writing. So when I find interesting things, I save them to these particular boards. So if people want to, if they say to themselves, you know what, journaling, good for you, Jazz. Journaling, your mama.
Jazz uses Pinterest all the time, but
It's incredible.
mom's
It's
talking
really,
about Jazz setting it up for her. But this is the kicker. Mom, do you use it? She'll
so
be like, "Oh, Jazz set me that up." Never use it.
So, like, if people say, you know what, journaling sounds like it could be really cool, but I need help on getting started. Well, if you're a person and you want to feel more grateful, then search for grateful writing prompts,
Gratitude,
or
yeah.
gratitude journaling, or
Gratitude. You can do a gratitude template or
yeah,
something like
or
that, right?
bullet journaling, or an inspirational word a day, or if you start searching for this, you can get all kinds of prompts that will get you going. It'll ask you a question. It is incredible the things that are out there. And once you start, and some of these are like one sentence. I have some friends that write a one sentence journal, and it takes them, I don't know, 15, 20, 30 minutes to write it, because to make that one sentence is difficult.
Well,
Like, I
Matthew
would,
McConaughey says, "I don't care if you draw a
I loved his book,
freaking
Green Lights, by the way.
kid, or not a kid, but like I don't care if you draw like whatever, a teddy bear or the sunshine. Your journal doesn't have to have writing. One day you can write, you can draw friggin' scribble scratch the next day if you want. You talking about community and people like that don't know how to journal, or like aren't whatever. I've had people that go and they have seen me my journals, and then like they're like, man, I wish I had the strength to do that, or like I wish I had the ability to like tear my. I mean, I don't put my like business out there, but I put like the trauma, like the dark parts of my life where I struggle, whatever, without being like messy. I don't go and put people's names out there and stuff like that. Like that's not journaling. That's just like tearing people
Well,
apart.
that's a diary.
That's
That's
a
something,
different story of like
yeah, that's
the way
different.
that I journal. It's like you don't need to know who the person is or the people or what, right? That's not anybody's business. Your life, if you want to share your life, that's cool. People's name, it's just Bob, Joe, whatever. Like that irrelevant of a real name. I wouldn't journal and be like, oh, well, I mean, I mentioned your name in here, but this is different because we're doing that together.
Yeah,
That's a
yeah.
whole different
If I'm
story.
gonna write that kind of, like, if I am venting because somebody did something, or I'm just irate or angry, or I feel just a tremendous anger, I write it, but then I burn it. I don't need to keep that, because that's negative energy. I need to expend it, and then it needs to be gone. I don't ever
Yeah.
want to keep it. So I literally burn it. I put it in my candle and I burn it. and then it's gone. But the thing is,
Would they call that witchcraft? No, I'm just kidding. I'm just messing with you.
I'm not like
I'm just playing with you. I'm
incantating.
kidding.
Like
I'm just.
I'm a muggle. As much as I might wish to have magical powers, I'm a muggle. I got nothing. But I believe so strongly in the power of journaling, whatever it's going to be, a gratitude journal, a word affirmation, strength, if it's whatever it is, whatever your cup of tea is, you can find it out there. There's somebody doing it and can help you get started. Get a book that you like to read in, something that you can carry around. So, I mean, this is mine. See, it's Starry Night. It's leather bound. It's beautiful. It's got leather ties on it. This is my What the Bluff journal. This is where I keep all of our stuff, right? This is just for us. I have another journal. It's a hardcover one. It's about this big. And it has a saying on it that I love. That's my travel journal. So whenever my family goes away somewhere, that's the journal that comes with me. And I write about our adventures. I write about things that we do, things that we see, experiences, revelations that we've had. That's all about traveling. Then I have my work stuff. You can see my tabs here. Like this is where I keep meetings, like meeting notes and things like that. So that's all here. Then I have this one.
You got journals like freaking like your book.
Oh, stop.
Like you have open journals like you do books. So that one's super nice. That's kind of like how mine is.
This one's burned. It's etched burned leather. I got this one in the West Coast somewhere, maybe Seattle. I think I might have gotten this at Pike's Place Market. But this is the one where I write my Rotary stuff, because I'm the district youth protection officer for my Rotary district. So I keep all that stuff in here and it's refillable. Then I have this one. And this one is my Army journal. This is the one that it's black leather. This is the one that I bring with me to Army. So every journal has a different thing, and it's dedicated, and I keep it there because it switches my mindset, right? So some people service dogs, right? If you take the service vest off, then the dog acts like a carefree puppy, right? But you put the service vest on, and the dog knows now it's time for business. I do the same thing with my journals. It helps my mindset. When I have that
the
journal,
second that you pick it, it's almost like you're clocking in.
Exactly. Like, okay, so this is my military journal. I'm in military mindset, and it just changes everything. But the record is all here. So it's like all of my different facets and all my different personality. But I believe so strongly in journaling that whatever people need to do, whatever kind of book you need to have, you need to. Oh, and I have pens, by the way.
Yeah, I'm funny about pens. I don't like to write unless it's a certain kind of pen.
Every journal has its own pen. The pen I have for us isn't a fancy one. This is one I actually took from the hotel because that's where we started writing our journals. So when this one dies, I'm going to have to go back to Huntsville and get another darn pen. Just kidding. I'll just figure this out. But I mean, I'm very, I've got my pens and they're always with my journals, and I make sure I've got, and then I actually, okay. So now I also have a journal that I bring with me. I stick it in my purse because when I need to write something and I'm out and about and I don't have any of my journals, it goes here and then it gets transferred wherever it needs to go. So it's like my incidentals journal.
Yeah. Well, by chance that I come up with a thought. Hey, so I have so this is my What the Bluff one is, this one right here. And it's like it's big. So like anytime you start filling up pages and that, when I get to like 4 and 5 pages, I'm like, oh man, I've got to transfer all this to my notes in my phone.
Yeah.
Or like if I write it in my phone and I'm like, cause I can type out a different type of journal on my phone than I will on paper. But cause I'm so fast with my fingers on there, like I can get through thoughts quicker and I won't lose things. Versus like when I'm on the pad, I'll redirect thoughts like a few times and it's just like different, right? So I have this other journal that Jazz had got me for like my 1 year sober anniversary, like whenever I was at the VA. And that is where I have that first journal about the compass or whatever. And it was they're only a page long, but ever since I had kind of stopped, I kind of like lost my way a little bit and like wasn't journaling.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't wanted to write in there because I'm like, I don't have that same mindset to write in that journal. It's just different. I had a different, like that journal was very important to me for the time that I wrote in it. But now I'm like, it's not like I love the journal. I
Yep.
love the journal, but it's not like it doesn't have the same energy for this anymore as
I
what I'm
totally
putting in
get
there
that.
now. But now I don't want to take like I want to keep it forever, but it's like I can't put anything. I don't want to put anything else in it. I'll still carry it around, literally carry it around like I'm going to use it and can't use it.
I'm trying to mute every time I have to sneeze or blow my nose. So is it working?
I think that time it did.
Okay, good. Thank you. No, I totally get it because sometimes it's just it's done. You've exhausted what you can do for that particular book. But I'm telling you, Amazon is great. Local booksellers are great for finding these things because you just want to make sure you've got it. And I'll tell you what else I used to do. When I was driving into work, I used to listen to my podcast in the morning, and it was like a 30-minute drive to school. And I would listen to the podcast and I would pause it and I would open up a notes on my phone and I would just start dictating into it. And I could rant on there about things that I heard in the news or things that I found astounding. So on my notes app on my phone,
Oh my
I
God, you
have
do not want me to do that because
I
that
have
just
a
gets volatile
well, my
bad.
it's not volatile, but it's just they're like, I mean, how many of these things like as I sit
From
here, it's like here's my phone, right?
yeah,
You see all of these? These are all reactions to news stories. All of these.
that's wild.
And I say things
It
or
would be if that would be me, it would be like f bombs every other word, like because
well, there's some of that in there because
I have to
I'm a woman.
process things verbally, like to somebody that understands me before I can go and like handle business with somebody. Like I have to calm down real quick and then go and do something else. And I
Yeah.
know that I'm very aware of that. Like that's why, like if I get like some wild news or something like that, I'm like, oh, I'm not gonna be like. I have somebody that I go to for that. Like I have my friend Noel, my Hundo Savages group, and it's just there's two of us, or there was three total, but there's two other people. And I mean, if I'm petty AF that day, I'm petty, and it's like whoever is petty, you know what I'm saying? Like somebody, like we're there for each other as far as like that is. And then sometimes it's not enough to throw that tantrum there. I need somebody else to throw that tantrum too, but it like de-escalates the further that it goes. The more that
Well,
I keep
because you
voicing it,
process it.
I'm like kind of like, oh man, maybe I'm being an asshole, right?
Well, and that's the thing. But sometimes you've got to get it out in a safe place so that you can hear yourself, so that you can actually start thinking these things, so that you can process it and work through it. I do too, Kim.
Oh,
So,
100%. Yeah, I
yeah,
feel that.
some of them, like my little childhood high school journal, like some of those things have major, major redactions because I don't ever want that stuff to follow me ever. So, but yeah, most like I keep any of these journals, like I keep them all because that's a record of stuff. Because
Right.
Geoff and I, we got plans. We got plans with those records.
100%.
So, but it's important. You have to, and I'll tell you what else is another source of journals for me. If you go back on my Facebook,
Yeah.
my Facebook is where I respond and process a lot of things, for better or for worse. And I also know that people don't actually read them.
What people? Oh, just people in
I
general?
think, yeah, I think a lot of people like don't actually read the entirety of the
Mhm.
post. Like they'll like it because in general they like and respect me, but I can,
You remember I said I
yeah,
don't give a shit about likes? I care about
yeah,
the
that's the thing.
shares
Like, yeah, the
because
shares,
that's why.
right?
Because people are just like numb
Yeah,
to a like.
and
Oh,
it's incredible. Like
double tap, double tap. And I'm like, you
exactly.
didn't
So
read
when you go
that.
through, yeah, and you can go
You
through here
either
too.
comment or you share or you put it, and then I know, yeah, like I don't care if you just like it, okay?
Yeah, like you
So
see, I might write like the funniest, most I don't know, like just a nonsense doesn't have anything to do with anything other than something funny that happened in the family. And for that one, I'll get 100 and something people liking it. But for the ones I post that are deep and meaningful, I might get 50 people liking it and then maybe one comment. So I know that they're not actually reading it. But
Yeah.
that's okay because I'm not posting it for them. I
Post it
think
for
I'm
yourself.
mostly posting it for myself and as an outlet. And if somebody happens to read it and take issue with what I say or agree with what I say or find inspiration in something that I say, hey, that's great. But my goal in writing it is more to vent it out and to write it
Right.
out. And I spend a lot of time going back through sometimes and editing to make sure that I haven't misspelled words or I've
Same.
said things properly and that kind of stuff. But I can tell, like, I know that these people, even my loyal friends who are looking these, I know they are not reading the dissertations that I put there on Facebook. I know
Yeah.
this,
You know,
and that's
sometimes I'll
okay.
put like a whack ass picture with my
And
post
five
just so that
thousand
way.
people liking it.
And then I'm like, and then the post has nothing to do with the picture. And I'm
Yep,
like, and
I
I'll see
gotcha.
people, but I'm like, it wasn't even about that. What are you talking about? Like, you know what I'm saying? Oh man, nice, blah, blah, blah. I'm like,
Yeah.
did you even read the caption? Like, it's like, so yeah, people better read my stuff, dude, or I get pissed. No, I'm just kidding.
No, I honestly, I mean, a lot of my stuff that I write long things.
You do.
Um, but it's
You do.
another.
If you write a post, I know I don't have to read my 10 pages for the day. I got it in right there.
Oh my God. That's probably true.
I'm
But
like, hey, Cristina posted today. I'm good. I ain't
you're
got to read.
good.
I'm
But
good.
that's but I always like I don't know. I just anyway, I love Facebook for that purpose. I try to use it for good and not for the evil that it can be. But I think Facebook is a wonderful platform, like
How you?
anything else, when it's used properly for what it's meant to be used for. But I don't use it like people are only posting their best selves and things like that, and that may be true, but that's not what
That's
Facebook is
weak.
for. Like Facebook isn't necessarily your outlet for revealing all of the deep and dark and failing things that are going on in your life. Like that's the
No,
place
but
where
that's what it's for to help people that only like all this political stuff that gets posted and stuff. I get pretty frustrated. Like, and look, I don't want to be a hypocrite. I don't like when people post a lot of political stuff, but I will post some ratchet stuff as well. Not post, but my story, because it disappears in 24 hours. That's the story is of zero value. No, I mean, not really, but that's like unimportant stuff. I'm not gonna put something in my story that I want to stay there forever anyway. It's you,
see that's you and Instagram though.
but
Instagram is
it
really
mirrors
surface
over
great
to
to
my
me.
to
Yeah.
my Facebook or whatever.
But
And
if people really did look at your stuff and if they really did read my stuff, they would know me pretty darn well by now.
same, yeah,
Because I'm pretty transparent with who I am.
yep,
Um,
I agree with that.
maybe that's why they like it and don't read it because they're like, oh God, again.
Well,
Am
that's
I the
why.
exhausting? Maybe I'm the exhausting person that people don't have time for.
Stop. Freaking, I've had to. Not had to. I didn't. I don't have to do anything. But I try to. I work on. I don't like try. I work on now. I'm trying to like again try. Such a stupid word. Why do I keep saying that? It's man. It's so frustrating. I work to um not always just share the trauma like from the past. Now I'm working on putting out like content about like what my struggles are today as of like, okay, now that I'm past that, what do I deal with? Right? Like, so like the other day I was in the shower, everybody calm down. Um I'm just kidding. There was a weak joke, very weak joke. But so I'm taking a shower. And I'm like stressed out. I'm thinking. I'm just like, man, like when I answer the phone in the shower all the time because I'm like, I have to take advantage of time.
Oh
That's
my
some of the
gosh.
time. I'm like, I'm trying to like do even event stuff or whatever. Like I'm just trying to take advantage of all the time that I have. Now, when you get to that status of like having to answer the phone, then you're trying to fight for some time to get every little bit of. So I'm in there and I'm like, man, I've got this, I've got that, and I'm like, man, the problems that I have today versus the problems that I had 4 years ago, worrying about getting high, getting out of jail, being on the run, all this other stuff is so much different. Now I'm working on how much value do I add to the community? How much value do I add to those around me? I'm mad because this is not happening the way that I need it to happen for me to be able to do this, right? Or like,
Mm-hmm.
but not do this in a selfish way, but do this in a way because I need this to set this event up, or I need this to do this to be able to connect with these people to help our brothers and sisters, or whatever we're doing. You know what I'm saying? Because that's the way that I live my life, is like trying to constantly create that wave of positive energy. You know what I'm saying? Because like if you tap the water, what does it do? It spreads
It
out.
spreads
Well,
out,
if you
right?
can be kind
Ripples.
to at least one person and make that person say, "Oh, you know what, man, that was so nice." Like whenever I go to, I had to go to the pharmacy the other day to grab something, and the lady was at the counter. And one of the things that some of my first form coaches tell us is like to be personable, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like with your servers and stuff like that. So
Always.
if somebody has a name tag on, or even if they don't, I'm like, "What's your name?" Let's just say Jazz, right? I'm like, "Oh, hey Jazz, how you doing?" And I try to make sure that that I remember that name, so that whenever she comes up to me, "Oh, Jazz, thank you for whatever." So that way, like I'm taking the initiative,
You're
or like I'm
acknowledging them as
going
a
the
human.
extra mile to like talk to you and address you as a person and a human, and like to let you know that I care enough about you to know your name.
You know
I
what? That
want to
gives
know your name.
people that gives people dignity. Like you're recognizing their dignity, and that kind of this chair is starting to get uncomfortable. That goes along with when I was teaching at East Mech, I was teaching international baccalaureate. So I had a lot of foreign students, or students that were first generation, or students that had um, very interesting names that sometimes had unpronounceable letters in the English language, right? Because we know that language is a really interesting construct all over the world, and there's lots of languages that have letters and sounds that we don't have. So it's difficult to pronounce names. But what drives me crazy is when people are like, "What's your name? What's your name? Like, what is it? What? Oh, whatever. That's I'm doing my best." No, you're not doing your best. Like, names are important. Acknowledging people's humanity and dignity is important.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's just being a good human, Jeff. But that's who you are. It's who you. I mean, it's who you've always been. So that's not a construct. You're not fabricating this persona. That's who you are. I like that
No,
about
but
you.
whenever I got like, so whenever they mentioned that, I was like, you know what? I like to hear perspectives in different ways to like be good to people.
Yep.
I like to think of like a new creative way of like, not just holding a door open. And I opened the door for Jazz the other day, and and then somebody, I'm not gonna say, one of my friends noticed that, and they were like, "I need to do that more often for my wife."
You know, not just for your wife.
And
How
I was
about the
like,
people behind you? Or how
"Cool,
about wives hold it for, your
that's
husband?
awesome."
Yeah, like why don't we just treat each other kindly? Whoever needs the help at this particular time. Like there's nothing more frustrating than, you're walking into a mall or a store and then somebody's ahead of you and they're
We get
talking on their
so caught
phone
up, though. We
or they're
get so
sitting
caught
there.
up in
They don't
everything.
even they don't even look behind them. They just walk in
No.
and the door slams right in you. And you're like, really? Like, are we so self-absorbed that we can't take the second to acknowledge that there are people who are sharing the same oxygen as we are? So, kind of look around and help, or at least acknowledge and turn around and say, "I am so sorry. I really I should have looked." Acknowledge your shortcoming in that particular moment and own it
Well, no,
and
that
try
admits
to be,
fault. I
huh?
can't admit fault. We don't admit fault around here.
What a
That's
pile of
ownership.
crap. I can't.
I
I
was at
just
a Bible study the other day, and I was talking. I was just talking about ownership and stuff like that. And it's funny that they're kind of like they I always catch a little bit of flack sometimes whenever I start talking about ownership and stuff like that. And they'll like mention something about like Grant Cardone, or like or Jocko or something like that. And I'm
oh,
like,
okay.
yeah, just talking about the extreme ownership stuff or whatever. And I just kind of laugh about it, because I mean, it's a major point, a major part of life, is being able to be accountable and knowing, like, just like whenever I was incarcerated and stuff like that, like me taking so much ownership of your story, like that whenever I was locked up and then me getting beat up by that guard, I said, well, if I didn't live such a ratchet shit life prior to this, it wouldn't even happen. Like
Well,
that's the
by that
kind of
same
owner. It's
token,
not even
he
his
should
fault.
never
It's
have done
my
it. Yes, no, it's his
right,
fault.
but it's my fault that I was in there. That's how far I took the ownership of. I put him in a bad position, right? Like I
That's
put him
very
in a
generous
position.
of you.
Well, they offered me the opportunity to be able to still press charges on him, and I said I don't believe in kicking a human being when they're down because he lost a job. He got charges, like the sheriff, whatever, had arrested him for battery and whatever. Of I don't know how that goes with that. I didn't really care what the charges were. They told me he was arrested, and then that he was going to have to, because like I was maced and lost vision in my eyes for like almost like 3 months in one of my eyes, but. We goes through it, and they were like, I was like, I don't want to do anything after this. Like the dude, hopefully he knows like I forgive him. And if y'all have the opportunity to talk to him again, tell him I forgive him. Tell him that, it's all good. It's 100. I would never kick a human being, or no, I'm not gonna say never, because in the past I probably would have, but now I don't believe in that. What I believe in is a little bit of mercy, and then saying, hey man, you know what? You've probably suffered enough, and I don't know what you're going through as a human being. I don't know how bad your family's suffering, and I don't believe in taking anything from you to do anything to you. So
you have
at this
tremendous
point,
compassion, and
that's
an
after
incredible.
getting the crap kicked out of me
I
and
remember the
everything else.
story.
You know what I'm saying?
So you own your own emotions and your own vulnerabilities. And I wish that was something that more people did. I wish that we had more intellectual and emotional honesty about ourselves so that we could admit to feelings, positive and negative, admit to vulnerabilities, because I think when we do that, we allow people in, we allow people whom we can trust, we allow them to become a part of our lives. Like
right,
you and I on this podcast are incredibly vulnerable, right? Because we're putting ourselves out there for people to attack and to say horrible things. Like, thankfully, that hasn't happened yet, but I've no doubt that as it continues, someone's going to have some things to say, and that's okay. They don't really know us and whatever's going on, but there's a certain kind of, I think, empowerment in being emotionally honest, because you're not held hostage by it anymore. When you can admit to it and when you own it, then it can't be used against you.
100%. I'm firm believer in that. Firm believer in that. So, it's like, well, let's see. I was going to talk about a dichotomy of something. So that's like the dichotomy of good, like a good versus bad,
Mm-hmm.
and a person being like an extreme achiever. Like you've got a person that's they achieve their goals and stuff like that, but then you've got somebody that's a high level achiever that takes extreme ownership. This other person, they may take like moderate ownership, like, oh, I'll take ownership of like some small stuff and stuff like that. But if something goes severely wrong,
Oh, I want
when the
plausible
crap,
deniability.
they're like, you'll be like, oh, well, if they wouldn't have done this, then man, it's just like like freaking can't I am not part of it. Be like, yo, you know what? That stuff came from like up here. Like, if I'm the head of this ship, I didn't advise you wrong, or you straight up disobeyed a direct order. And that's the case, well, then you won't be trusted. You won't be allowed to do this anymore. And I'm kind of having some kind of I'm figuring some things out in another situation. I'm not gonna talk about it on air, but there was a situation where this person said that they had done something, and then I had to go and then like go back behind them and then get that information.
Yeah.
And so when they said that they did this, this, and this, I'm like, hey, did you receive blah, 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 blah from blah, 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 blah about this? And they were like, no. So I go down the list and I'm like 6 into it. And I'm like, 6 for 6. None of them received anything. And you said that you sent X, Y, and Z. Nah, man, you didn't do anything. And that's why you sent me this, this, and this information for me to go and do your job.
Yeah.
So anyway,
it's the pass the buck people, and
100%.
they're everywhere, and you encounter them everywhere, and you've got to know it when you see it. And It's funny because as I take on new projects and new roles professionally and militarily, and then personally, I'm like this morning when you and I were texting this morning. Why were you and I texting this morning? I don't. Anyway, we were texting. That was this morning, right? Didn't we text this morning? Am I crazy?
I'm about to check you on that
um, I'm pretty sure
No,
we did.
I think I'm pretty sure you. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah,
we
did.
can't talk
We did.
about that. We're
No,
not
we can't
talking
talk
about that.
We did. But anyway, when I was texting with you, I was getting ready.
You were
I had
going to
to-
do some training, and that was
I
it.
had
And I
to
was
go- I
sending
had
you
to
a
go.
song.
Yeah, I had to, which is a great song, by the way, except that it's got words in there that I don't like.
Right.
So it's hard for me to listen to it because I don't use slurs.
Right.
And they're all over that song. And I have a hard time listening to like the end slur. I can't.
Yeah.
I don't. Maybe there's a radio edit that'll take the end slur out.
Oh yeah, no, they do have one.
Yeah, I'll get that one. I can't stomach the word. I mean, it's one. It just, I can feel my heart pound. Anyway.
Yeah. No, I get it.
So today I had to do training because in June, that's our Rotary year starts in June, and our current governor, who is a dear friend whom I value and respect very much. He's from my club, but his tenure as governor ends, and a new guy's coming in. So they have district training for all of the new club officers. So I'm the district youth protection officer, which means that I'm responsible for ensuring that all of our volunteers are vetted and background checked and things like this. And it's a fairly new program that we're starting to do because that across the country in a lot of different places, children have been very vulnerable and victimized by various churches and sports and schools and things like this. And so Rotary, to get ahead of all, like, we have to come up with these things. So I had to do training today. So I'm sitting here like I'm doing that. I had an executive summary that I had to do for work. My boss gave it to me Thursday, late afternoon, needed it this weekend because it's got to go before people on Monday. So I'm like, okay, well, that's going to be some time over the weekend. And I was kind of struggling through that because it's not the way that I would have done it, but not my product. So it comes from outside contractors. So I just had to summarize it and deal with it and move on. But it's funny in the midst of that. So I have my personal community service thing on this laptop. I have my work things on this laptop. On my phone, I've got Army texts coming in saying, hey, can you call? I've got this question. Like, so 3 different aspects of my life. And then you and I are texting about the podcast. So all of these things are coming in. In the meantime, my daughter is driving home from Durham. She went to a 3 Dog Night concert with my mom and dad and had an amazing time. Then she went prom dress shopping. My husband bought stuff to build a garden in our community garden that we're just starting. It's like all of these things, all of these different projects in my life slammed together today. And I remember thinking before I came up here, I went downstairs to grab a bubbly before the podcast and thinking this has been one of the most satisfying Saturdays I've had in a long time. Like, I should be exhausted by all of the things that happened today. And instead, I find myself empowered by all of these little pieces that I had to do. So it sounds like it wasn't a restful Saturday, but it was an incredibly inspiring and motivating day because all these little pieces of my life were going well. Things, even when they weren't, like even when this executive summary was making me want to pull my hair out, it was still motivating, inspiring because it's part of the bigger picture. Right? So the perspective shift. So all of the things we've been talking about for the last 6 podcasts today feels like it came in. So shifting your perspective, owning your emotional vulnerability, taking control of yourself, owning your capabilities and things like this, like all of these things today. And it was a great day. And now I'm having so much fun chit-chatting with you.
Isn't it cool? Like, so every once in a while, and you may notice this, but like there's just like certain points in the time of the week. Well, last week was one of them. I was like severely exhausted. I was so tired. I wasn't really processing a whole lot. Like, I'm gonna be real honest with you. There was a period where you were talking about something, and then I commented, yeah, I agree with that. And you were like, how so? And I was like, fuck.
Geoff was going through them. Well, I know you were tired last week though, because you
I
just
was exhausted.
And we had to push it off until later. So you were freaking tired.
Yeah. And
I mean, you were a warrior last week because we didn't put it off. We continued to do the pod. And I know you were just like, oh man, I just want to go to
Hey,
bed.
when you said I was about to go to bed, you said, "Hey, you ready?" And I was like, "Ah, yep, let's do it." I'm not going nowhere. I'm not backing down. I'm not built like that. I'd rather be able to be like, "Yo, I did." Like it's just like a workout. Okay, it's just like a workout. When I go to the gym, or if anybody goes to the gym, if you didn't want to go to the gym, right? You didn't want to go do this or anything in life, a chore. Even when I do dishes, I don't want to do dishes. I hate dishes.
Nobody wants to do dishes.
Jazz likes to do the silverware, so I do all the big stuff, and
Oh,
I'll just leave all the silverware in the sink. Anyway, but I'll go and then do the dishes, and then when I'm done, regardless on how I felt about doing them, when I'm done, I'm like,
feels
I
good.
did that. I did that. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Same thing with working out. Nobody leaves a workout session. Doesn't matter how bad it sucks. Nobody leaves a workout session or whatever they would have put off and says, I wish I didn't do that.
Yeah, no, you're right. And
You
then
know
you
what
know
I'm
what?
saying?
That's what I need to
But that
focus
builds
on.
that mental toughness. That also builds trust with yourself, that you can hold yourself accountable to what you said you were going to do. It's like signing that contract with yourself. I
Mm-hmm.
heard Kobe Bryant talk about that. We're going to read a book about Kobe Bryant soon.
Oh, he was amazing.
And there's another book that I definitely want you to read. It's called Relentless. And it's
Oh,
about Michael Jordan and Kobe
didn't I order that
Bryant.
book already?
I don't know,
Did you?
maybe.
Didn't you
It's
tell me to order it?
really, I may have, but there's two books. It's Winning and then Relentless, and it's all about like elite level mindsets. But how you say it? Where was I going with that? Oh well, I don't know. But
No, we were talking about doing things that you don't want to do with workouts and things like this, and then you
yeah,
started talking about relentless.
it builds trust. It builds trust in yourself. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? It's not about. That's how you start to trust yourself. That's how
Now, see,
you sign that contract where when Kobe said that before a season would start, I'm going to do this training plan, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And then when you start getting into the thick of it and you're like, and you start giving yourself those little excuses and stuff like that. Like, man, there'll be workouts that I do and I don't want to put my hands on like, I'm not going to like kill over, right? Like, I'm not going to rest my hands. I'm just like, you know what? Everybody's eating the same crap.
mm-hmm.
Everybody's eating the same crap. It sucks. But you got to have that mindset. I'm a beast. I'm a dog. I'm gonna get through this. I got this, right? And you just stay up, breathe. It's cool. Mindset, think, mindset,
You talking about the Mamba
affirmation.
mentality?
That no, not that book. No, it's I think this one's called The Rise because Jazz has Mamba mentality, I think, and she said it's mainly a
The
picture book.
Rise. Yeah, I see it.
I
And the
have The
Pursuit of
Rise,
Okay.
but I haven't read it yet. But before you go and purchase it, let me just kind of see what it's about, and then we can like go through that book together
Yeah,
because I
yeah,
know I'll
yeah.
small that book.
So I mean, I gotta tell you, I finished the Aladdin Factor like
Oh, I already know. I
a
mean,
month ago.
I might be over 100 pages into it. Was able to dig down a little bit, and then once
Okay, so
this
you know what?
event started getting thick, I just like
Finish it when you can finish it. Let's start something that you find a little bit more interesting. You pick the next book.
okay. Well, I mean, we can figure that
Yeah.
out.
So your mindset is, elite athlete and things like that. So workout and person like that's your thing that you focus on. It's kind of funny because when you look at our pictures, right? Like there's you and then there's me sitting on a log by the Pacific Ocean somewhere. I think we were in Oregon, Washington. Anyway, writing in the journal. But I pursue those kinds of things, I think, with as much intensity as you pursue your physical fitness. And it's very different. But you tell me, you inspire me, and you reminded me right now about how I feel after a workout is done. And we've got the ACFT, the Army Combat Physical Fitness Test for record coming up, I think, in maybe October. It can't be August because we're going to be in San Antonio. Maybe October, November, somewhere in that time frame. Um, So I got to get myself in a mindset to start preparing for that. And that's going to be, I mean, that's like functional fitness. So it's
Yeah.
all over training and things like this. And I'm going to, instead of focusing on doing it, I'm just going to focus on the small goal about how I feel when it's done. That's what I'm going to focus on. Because I know I'll be better physically for it. I mean, I'm physically strong, but I mean, I know I'll be more physically strong and I'll be able to claim back a lot of years on my life and my physicality just by getting ready for that. So I'm
Hey,
looking
why
forward
don't
to
you
it.
do the challenge that I call it a challenge, but it's an everyday thing that I just do, and I make sure that I attack it every night. The 100, I do it. It takes me 10
Yeah,
minutes.
no.
I do 10
A
rounds
hundred?
of
Yeah.
10 reps. No,
Okay,
it's
well,
10 rounds of 10 reps, 10
have you seen
push-ups,
you?
regular or modified. Huh? Yeah,
Have
but
you
I do.
seen you? Have you seen me?
Yeah, but anybody can do this. Anybody can do it. It doesn't. Even if it doesn't take you 10 minutes, even if it takes you like 15 or 20, even if
Okay.
you break them down into 20 sets of 5.
I love so much that you think that I can do 100 push-ups, 100 burpees, 100 what
No,
else?
100 push-ups, 100 crunches or sit-ups, and 100 squats of your choice. Air squats.
Every
No,
night.
wait,
I
nothing.
love that you think I can do 100 of those
You can just
every
5
night.
at a time.
Gee, that would take me all day.
No, it wouldn't.
Perspective, Geoff. I'm little. I might could
You,
work up to that, but I think I might have to start out with 20. Or maybe I'm underestimating myself. I
I
don't know.
think you're underestimating yourself. With
I think
time,
somewhere in
you
the
can do
middle,
5. If you
maybe.
did a modified push-up, you got this.
I think,
And then a crunch
I
is just
think,
like you got your knees up and you're just
yeah,
kind of
yeah,
like
yeah.
one, you're just
I
barely up.
think, I think you're overestimating me, and I think I'm underestimating me. So maybe
You think I'm giving you too
somewhere,
much credit?
I think you're giving me too much credit.
I think you just don't believe in yourself enough. And that's a lot of people. Jazz does this every night.
Yeah, but have you seen Jazz? Have you looked at her? She's fine, and
You're
she's
in the military. You're in the
dude.
army. You're a warrior.
I run cyber exercises and
What do you
transportation exercises and overland exercises, and yeah,
are you
I'm a
saying you're
lieutenant.
over there playing Call of Duty? I'm
No, I'm
just
not over
playing
there
with you.
playing Call of Duty, but I'm not
That
gonna
was
look.
what that was just a shot. I'm playing with you.
I'm not sleeping on top of engineer vehicles either anymore, like I used to. Remember back in the old days?
Oh yeah, I
I would rather sleep on
remember.
top of a vehicle than sleep in a freaking shelter half. Just put me on top and then like let my hair
That's how
down.
I slept like that in Kuwait quite a bit
Yep. Oh
because
my
it was
gosh. And
cooler in the
then
vehicle than it was in that tent.
yes, and then the crazy thing was because I had long hair in Iraq. You probably don't remember. You probably never even saw it down. But when I would put it down, people would be like, "Who? What?" Because it was all the way down my back, and I would coil and I would
Look
twine
what we
it.
got. We got people joining in.
Okay, Kim. She's also she's half my age.
The average.
Terry's okay. That's it. Now it's war because now Terry's calling me old. Mama T, you called me old. That's it. That's war. Oh no.
How you mute that so fast? I don't even see you pushing a button.
There's on the bottom of our screen. There's mute, stop, can, settings, all that kind of stuff.
Oh man, you're good.
I'm telling you. So okay. So
If
here's
I had
what
a
I gotta do.
producer, I'd be like, "Yo, don't let her mute."
Yeah, I guess. So okay. So here's what I have to do. I can almost do most of the ACFT. I don't have like I have
The grip strength?
the deadlift. No, I had the deadlift stuff, but I don't have the plates. And I can go to a gym for that and some of the other stuff. But
To drag, like the push legs and stuff?
no. There's actually a deadlift, but I don't have any issues with that. I can actually max that because it's just 3 times and you can't drop it. You have to actually set it down. But I can do that and do pretty well on it. The one I tell you that really whomps my butt is the sprint drag carry. Because when you have to drag, first of all, 2 40-pound kettlebells in your hands back and forth 50 meters total is a lot heavier than you think it is. And then the sprint drag carry is, what is it, 80 or 90 pounds? I don't remember if it's 80 or 90 pounds, but you're dragging it 25 meters there and back. that's a lot. Like that drags my legs, and I'm just done. And then there's the 2 mile run is after that. So I can do the plank, like I can do all of that stuff. It's that sprint dry carry that I really really need to work on. And I'm kind of thinking that I might buy the sled with the weights,
I think you should.
and then I can use my backyard, which is
I
pretty
would like,
long.
yeah, I think you should do that.
I just don't want to ruin my grass.
Priorities.
Maybe I'll take it out into the field right behind my house. I'll just drag it out in the field.
I mean, it's not going to ruin your grass. You could probably get a Teflon thing put under it, so it's where it will just slide really easy.
Yeah, they sell them. I mean, so if I had that, I could probably cancel my gym membership and just work out here. But my daughter wants to go, and she can't drive yet, so I got to bring her.
Yeah.
So, all right, that's it. Terry said bad words. So now I
now you're doing the 100, 100, 100?
That's it. Well, I mean, I'll work up to it. But I'm going to do it because Terry said that old people can't do it.
Say, hey, look, if you do that, you have to
document it. Yeah, no.
No,
I mean,
I'm not saying that you have to do a video, but you just have to let me know.
I'll let you know when I
but
start.
I need the consistency. Like, okay, so do what you can do in 10 minutes. This is it. Like, do 10 rounds of 3 push-ups, but 10 rounds of 3 push-ups, do as many crunches as you can, like, 5 or 10 crunches, and then make sure you do the 10 squats, because the 10 squats you can for sure do.
So like, like against like you talk about like a chair sit, like against a wall, and like, what do you mean squats? Like
air squat. Like you just hold your hand like
this, and you just
squat.
go down.
Yeah, you just squat, but your legs need to be parallel to the ground. I like to make my butt go. I try to go ass to grass, but not. There's no grass.
Well, that's okay. So So instead of doing crunches, I think I'd rather do planks because it's more full body than the crunches.
Yeah.
So can I substitute?
Well, so I take my knees and I'll hold my knees like this, right?
Yeah.
Like I pick my knees up, and that kind of works. But look, if you want to do a 3-minute plank, do that.
Well, 4 minutes. 4 minutes is max.
I mean, because that's good for your core too.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking. So push-ups will be great for chest, shoulders, back, right, and core too. And there's like that whole push-up thing where you got to go all the way down, and then your arms have to go out, and you got to push up and arms out and all that kind of crap. So I'll do that. I'll do planks because I do a daily plank anyway. I'm starting to really get better with that. And then I'll do friggin' squats. But burpees make me pee my pants. Can't do that.
Okay.
I'm not doing anything that's going to make me do that.
So that's a fact?
That's what 3 kids does to you.
Got you.
Mamas know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So, but there's surgery for that. I'll get it taken care of someday. All right, man. So look, for Paco's birthday, I bought him a pizza oven.
Oh, and man.
He's finally breaking it out.
Brick oven?
No, not a brick oven. It's just one of the really nice, like, spaceship looking ones. And they're breaking it out today. So
she said one kid does
one kid does it too. She's got she's got a beautiful kid that I loved watching grow up on Facebook. So Kim's one of my former students too, back in Louisiana, in Bruley.
Okay. Bruley. Okay, I've been.
You drove through it, and when you went over the I-10 bridge,
yeah.
On your way from the I-10 bridge into Plaquemine, you go through the 3 traffic lights in Bruley.
Yeah, I used to do some MMA training out in Bruley, Plaquemine area. There was some fight gyms out there.
So
got in a lot of trouble in Bruley.
So what do you mean? One of like the 2 police officers used to catch you and stuff?
Say again?
One of the 2 police officers used to catch you?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't really that
small town, man.
Yeah. And White Castle's in that area too, right?
No, White Castle is past.
A little bit further.
Yeah, it's past Plaquemine on the way to Donaldsonville.
It's like almost a
Well, it's where Nottoway is.
Oh, wait, not Generette.
It's about no. It's about 10 minutes past Plaquemine. Because we used to be able to hit Nottoway within 30 minutes of leaving our house in Baton Rouge. And we had some of our departure ceremonies were at Nottoway because it was so convenient to Plaquemine.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yep. So yeah, I'm not eating the pizzas because crust, and I'm 32 pounds down.
Nice.
I know. I'm looking so fine. I'm really happy.
That's awesome, man.
Yep.
That's awesome.
So I'm gonna go see what they've done downstairs. I can't smell anything. I mean, for all I know, I don't know. They're making salmon. I have no idea. I can't smell. Stupid. Yeah. I'm telling you, the world in North Carolina around this time of year is so beautiful because spring is springing and everything is gorgeous, but the world turns yellow with pollen. Yeah. I mean, my screened-in porch, my son's going to go out tomorrow after he cuts the grass, and he's going to get the industrial vacuum cleaner and suck all the pollen off everything because it's just everywhere. Our cars, like we had to take them and get them, we'll like hose them down because they are covered in pollen. I brush off my patio furniture on our back patio to go sit out there and have a chit chat with my husband before I came up here, and like powder, just the pollen dust. It's awful. And it's killing me. Like North Carolina is finally trying to kill me.
Yeah.
So
that's no bueno.
Well, I don't know. Hopefully this is as bad as it gets. It's just a drippy. It's making me crazy. So I'm going to go do that. You got to clean up and rest up before you have the rest of a Saturday night evening with Jazz. You just did 53 miles, man.
Yeah.
And an hour and 36 minutes of a pod.
And I have another 50-mile ride tomorrow. 50 or 60, something like that. And I got to do 2 long rides back to back. And then freaking after that, it'll be like 25-mile rides the rest of the week. So I'll do like 12 and a half miles out and back. Because it's focusing on that movement, getting that movement in, getting my back used to being in that bent over position and stuff like that. I've had so many back issues, and this is just really good for me to be able to do that, to kind of build that strength up. Because like I pulled my back, like I don't even know how to, man, for me to be in the kind of pain that I've been in with my back, it's bad. Like it gets like when I hear people talk about back pain, and I'm like, that's because you're overweight. This is different. This is because I'm actually tearing the muscles in my back. People that like get severely overweight, like generally they're like, oh, my knees hurt. Well, if you lose some of that weight, they won't hurt so bad.
Right.
I forget what it is, but per every man, this guy told me the other day, he was like, for every man, what was it? 10 pounds is like 50 pounds of pressure on your joints or something like that.
So one of my friends back in undergrad, he was an ROTC. His dad.
That's probably wrong, but
yeah, it's a lot. His dad was a general. He was the garrison commander at Fort McClellan. I don't remember. But anyway, so he was an Army kid through and through, but he was overweight. And his junior or senior year, he went through a tremendous weight loss thing. And I don't remember who told him to do this. I don't know if it was his coach or whoever it was, said to put the weight in a backpack that he'd lost and carry it around.
Yeah, dude.
And I'm sitting here, I'm thinking to myself, like, I look at myself since January 27th, I've lost 32, 33 pounds, something like that.
Start working out with that.
Well, and that's it. Like, I sit there and I pick up these things and I'm like, oh my God, like that is a tremendous amount of weight and body fat that I've dropped. Like my body fat percentage.
You know how massive that is in fat? You know how massive?
It's huge.
1 pound of fat is like this. Like it's like bigger than it's bigger than a softball.
Yeah. So like every week I go and they
versus
say
1 pound of muscle is like a little cube.
So they said you've lost this amount of weight, but here's how it's broken down. So you have like, I don't know, they'll tell me what kind of water I'm retaining.
Right.
And then they tell me like the fat that I've lost, like 1.5 pounds of fat in a week is a huge amount of fat. So, I mean, I'm astounded that first of all, that I've done it, and I'm really proud of myself. But the other thing is, how the heck did I let that COVID? I mean, I can blame it on that because I basically went sedentary, sitting in front of a computer all day long, never moving. And those Reese's peanut butter chips, not Reese's peanut butter, the The
Reese's Pieces.
no, not those. I don't like those. The Nestle semi-sweet chocolate chips.
Uh,
Oh,
mm, oh, yeah. I don't
it
know what
hurt.
you're talking about.
It hurt me. Every time I
Uh,
walk past the pantry, you take a handful of those things, and apparently those little buggers wind up being, 30, 40 pounds that I'm trying to lose right now. But I'm almost there.
Jazz and I were walking down one of the aisles in the store the other day, and I was like, "We have got to get off this," because like right now,
Hard.
I'm minimal, like my diet. Like I'm trying to cut some fat right now as well. And she was like, "What do you want?" And I was like, "I want some mother trucking ice cream." And I was like, "We got to get off of this aisle right now because
Do
I'm
you know
going
what you can
home with
do?
a half a pound and I'm going to eat it all."
Do you know what you can do? You buy the no sugar or the sugar-free Cool Whip. The sugar-free Cool Whip in the frozen thing, and you eat like a tablespoon of that, and that gives you all the sweetness and the consistency of ice cream, and that totally does it for me. So like
Huh.
when it's uncontrollable, I'll just grab a little spoon and I'll have the sugar-free Cool Whip. Gives me everything I want, a teeny teeny little thing, and then I don't have to go back for more. Just enough.
I'm greedy though.
Well,
I want a whole half pound contain. Oh,
but remembering what I had to do to get to where I am right now is enough for me to put the spoon down. I'm really proud of where I am right now. And when I wear my clothes, and because when you put on a pair of jeans, they stretch, right? So maybe you can get like 2 wears or so out of jeans before you got to wash them so that they get back to their shape. I wear jeans after about an hour. My jeans are stretched and they're saggy.
huh.
What happened to the comment? Did you
Oh,
delete a comment?
I didn't delete anything. Mom is probably like seeing stuff.
Oh.
She might be joking.
Can you delete comments?
Because I can see it right here. I can see exactly what she's talking about. It's right
Oh
here.
yeah. Okay, there it is.
The average old person can't do all those exercises every night. She was talking about herself, but
Oh.
it didn't say
I know
her.
your mom
Oh,
always
wait.
says that. She makes those things like she always says, I was talking about me. I'm like, I know, but I could identify as being old too. Do you know that they would classify me as being middle aged? Isn't that awful? Who the hell decided that?
Why are you stressing it?
You're right. Because I'd
Hey,
much rather be the age I am now with everything that I've done and accomplished and learned than be back in my 20s again, hands down. Not even a question.
I would prefer to be where I'm at right now, going forward on the path that I'm going on, destined for greatness,
Yep.
than be stuck in my 25s. Even though, like, whatever I was like, vibrant, whatever you want to call it, right? Full of, whatever. And I was not in a good place. And at 25, I was on the verge of my first suicide attempt. So,
Yeah, I would never. I mean, no
and
way I'd want to go back there. Because look at what everything that whole journey. Look where it got you.
Mom, if you're not seeing it, it's because you probably closed out the app and then you came back in. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. Don't worry about it.
I don't know. I'm looking to see. Is it on Facebook? Like, can it?
I can see all the comments in the thing. So I don't. I mean, if she
Okay.
can't see the comments, it's almost like it's kind of irrelevant anyway.
So, all right. I have had a little face pop in and do. So apparently it's time to go and eat. It's only 10:07.
Yeah, it's late.
Because I'm Eastern. You're Central.
Yeah.
All right, man. Have we
Geriatric. Jesus Christ.
God. All right, I think we have exhausted Compass and everything else we chatted about. Hey, good episode, man. I had fun.
This was a really good episode.
I had a good time.
Hopefully,
And hey, Kim,
if y'all
share this pod with your friends and all the fellow youngins that I loved and adored. Share it with them. Bring them on here. We could have a good time. Ooh,
Yeah.
They could probably tell you some stories of when I used to close the classroom door. I used to keep my classroom door open.
How old are they?
Unless we had to have a chat, then I closed the door because there's no need in airing dirty laundry for all the other people in the hallway to hear. And when I closed the door, that's when I had to have a serious come to Jesus with my students. Y'all aren't doing your homework. Y'all aren't blah, blah, blah. Yep. They could
Are they
tell you.
over 18 now?
Oh, over 18. Oh yeah, a lot of them are in
Okay, so
their
so
early
this
mid 30s.
only reason I was asking that was because like then yeah, we could bring them on the show. We'd have to have a different template, but
Yeah,
you can bring like you can bring 3 on here or
they
whatever.
could. They could. Honest to God, I bet you. I wonder what memories they have. I loved and I'm friends, Facebook friends, social media friends with so many of them because they were so special to me. I was there for 4 years before I had Sabrina. I don't remember how many years, something like that. And they were like adored and very special to me. And it's so special now because I remember them as teenagers. And then on social media, you watch them grow up, you watch them go to school, get their training, go through their heartaches, have their children go through their heartaches, start, like build their lives up. And it's just such an amazing feeling to watch them do this. It's one of the things I love best about social media. So it's an incredible thing. But all right, time to sign off. Because, as people who know me know, it's getting close to my wishing hour. I know it's time to eat. And then I got to go to bed.
You'd be like, you know what? It's an additional 10 minutes for you for you popping in and acting like I wasn't about to go on air. That's what you get for not following me. That's what you get for not following me.
So she just came home. I remember that too, Ken. That was funny.
It was your presence. It was just your aura.
So this kid, so Jody Richard, I think was like 5'5", 5'6" as a kid. I don't know how tall he is now, but I used to wear high heels. When I say high heel, I mean I love my high heels. So I would walk around the class in my high heels. So my students thought, I'm like, because they're sitting and I'm in high heels and they think like I'm this huge thing. And Jody Richard was like, man, you gotta be close to 6 feet tall. And I said, Jody, I'm about 5'5". And he said, no way. He stood up, I took off my shoes and I went from here to here, right down to his level. And he let some words fly. He's like, oh my God. I said, see, it's just my presence. Kim, I can't believe you remember that. That was so funny. That was so funny. We're talking, this is a while ago too, before her precious baby and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, but anyway, you get a few of my students on here. I'm sure they could tell you things. So, that's awesome. All right. Well, much love to you and Jazz. I'm proud of you for plugging away and getting all your stuff built. That's my affirmation for you for the week. And then next week, we have to decide what we're going to talk about. We need to write some new journals too.
We do. What's the journal entry? I don't remember.
I don't know. We'll talk about it.
We had two of them. We had two of them. That's how good it was because you had 2 words that came up and they were both pretty powerful. So
we still have some that we haven't talked about yet. Like we haven't talked about all the journals that we've already written.
No, we've got perspective and or potential
gumption.
So we're ahead of the game. If you think about what episode is this?
7.
7? Yeah. I mean, that's not bad. We're pretty, look,
we're starting to crank now.
We got over a month and we only been doing it feels weird saying that we've only done this for like what, so we're at 7, so we're at 1 and 3 almost 2 months of doing this.
Feels like it's been longer.
It does. It feels like, man, we've been doing this for years. No, I'm kidding.
Someday we'll be looking back and like, man, it flew. It went like this.
Yeah. Most podcasts so if between this one and then my other one, I've got like probably over 20. I've got over 20 podcast episodes, which is pretty cool because most podcasts die by the time they get to 100. So our goal is at least 1,000.
We'll get there.
Oh, I think we're going to go so far past that. We're going to go so far past. We have too much value to bring to not.
So. We got a lot to say. And we still have a lot more life to live.
And this is not even writing. We're just talking. We're not even talking about the journal right now. We're still bringing value. So that's pretty dope. I'm excited. Yep. When I say excited, I'm not like, it's not really an exaggeration. I am really thriving internally on what this represents and the amount of impact it has on people. You know what I'm saying? It's not, we don't get a ton of people that watch, but I tell you what, it's growing because the few people that do watch, and they are tuned in.
And you can see the people that it's reaching because people are going back to old episodes. Like, so I get the updates on our Facebook page and on our YouTube page. So I know they're going back and I know they're watching. Yeah. So pull that podcast too. And have people listen and start rating the podcast too. So it can get spread around.
Yeah.
We can reach people. People somewhere out there, there are people who are looking for this kind of whatever it is that we're spewing out every Saturday night. They need
Yeah.
it, and we're here for it. So, all right.
And you finally kind of dropped the thing on the whole 1 hour time limit, which is nice too. Not
I
put
gave up
stress
on the
on that
editing
part.
because man, I just can't. I
It's
just
just we
cannot.
ain't got the time for it right now, man. We ain't got that
No,
kind of time.
I don't have the time to edit this stuff. So you know
Yeah.
what? Whatever happens live stays in the pod.
And look, people love that. I think that
They do.
the rawness of it like that is just
And
what
we need
attracts a lot
t-shirts.
of people.
We really need to do t-shirts. I keep getting these
We'll be
things
able to
saying,
tap into that. Give me at least until after this event, and
yeah,
then
yeah,
we'll get
yeah.
with the design
We
artists
will.
and stuff like that, because I just need to have a shirt company and everything
Nope, it'll be good.
that's banging out. So
Everything in its time. So,
yeah.
all right. Well, that's it. I mean, I really could go longer, but I really need to say that's
Okay.
it.
Yeah. No. I got look. I've got to draw the line. I have boundaries in my life.
That's it. And this is stepping out of a boundary. So, all right. So
I
you
said
know where
it
to find
first.
us.
No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, yeah. So you know where to find us
I'm
on,
just kidding.
on YouTube and on Facebook at What the Bluff Pod. So we're here. Find us, share us with people that you think might enjoy us, share us with people that you think might get some value. Find us wherever you get your podcasts, and interact. We love when we get the interaction coming in from people who are able to join us live. I missed a couple of the people who are typical. They sent me messages earlier in the day and said, we can't come on tonight, but we're going to watch the recording. So Caroline, I missed having you here. So that's it. We'll see you next week. And remember, we're all better when we bluff.
Absolutely. You can follow Cristina at Cristina T. Capella. You can follow me at Geoff Spira on Instagram, or you can also follow the pod on at What the Bluff. So, with that being said, Cristina and Geoff, out.
Out.